Now, with Brian Wilson live in Charlotte, this is Common Sense coverage of the Democratic National Convention with Brian and Brian, sponsored by the Media Research Center. 105.9 FM and AM 630. WMAL.
Good morning, everybody. Brian Wilson coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, 37 minutes past the hour. Brian Neiman is back in D.C. How are you, Brian?
Feeling good, man. I'm ready to go. I'm watching Michelle Obama last night, Barack Obama tonight, Barack Obama tomorrow night. I'm sorry, Bill Clinton tonight.
Yeah, we give it Bill Clinton tonight.
Yeah, it's moving. We're getting closer to November 6th. I don't know about you, but I could fast forward to that day.
I'm ready. Well, we are joined on the phone line by KT McFarland, Fox News national security analyst. KT, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so in the Democratic platform, they took out the reference to Jerusalem being the capital, or should be the capital, of Israel. Now, that's a change from what they did in 2004. It's a change from what they did in 2008. Is this important or not important?
You know, it depends, I think, from where you sit. For the American people, if you already believe Barack Obama and you believe when he says, I've got Israel's back, and you have full confidence that he's going to carry out what he says, then you're going to look at that and say, doesn't matter much, just an inadvertent oversight. If, however, you're someone who says, I don't believe him, he's made a lot of empty promises he's never kept, or I'm really concerned about his commitment to the state of Israel and to stopping Iran's nuclear program, you're going to point to that and say, aha, evidence. Barack Obama is changing the long-standing United States policy towards Israel by not naming Jerusalem as the capital. Now, that's one set of people sitting and looking at that statement. The most important one, though, is not who's in the United States pulling the levers in November. It's who's sitting in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv and in Israel, and do they believe it? Do they think it's significant? Why is that? Because the most important relationship the United States has right now is with the Prime Minister of Israel. Do they believe Barack Obama when he says, I've got your back, I'll stop Iran's nuclear program? Because if they don't believe him, then they're going to have no choice but to take steps and take action into their own hands. If they do believe him, they wait.
Just to follow up on that, though, KT, you know in politics, and you know politics well, perception is important. And many Jewish voters in America who traditionally vote mostly Democratic have had some concerns about whether or not this president stands firmly behind Israel. When you take this reference out of the platform, doesn't it feed into that perception?
You bet it does. And that's why if you already have doubts, this is further evidence, I mean, it's slam dunk evidence, that he doesn't have the same commitment to the state of Israel. But I'm not sure who's paying attention other than, the experts. If you have a question about Barack Obama's commitment to Israel, though, the more important question is, what does Israel think? Because if Israel concludes they can't trust him, they go ahead and attack. When do they attack? Before the election.
Why before?
Why? Because they want to force the issue. They have more leverage over Barack Obama before November than they do after. A reelected Barack Obama really can do whatever he wants. A Romney might do something different, but they can't be sure that a Romney would win. So I think there's a real issue of timing and credibility.
Interesting.
I was thinking that maybe they would think the way members of Congress are thinking right now with the fiscal cliff. We're going to just let the American people decide on November 6th, and however they vote, that's going to be the compass for the future of the economy, which way we're going, and also for foreign policy. Yeah. They might they roll the dice and see if Romney will win.
Well,
I wouldn't think they'd do that.
I mean, they certainly say that, and all countries say that. We don't want to interfere in the domestic affairs of another country. We don't want to influence the United States election. But look, they've got a lot riding on this. They look at Iran's nuclear weapons program as an existential threat. In other words, Iran gets nukes, they're finished. Israel ceases to exist as a nation.
Well, what does Israel get with Mitt Romney as the President of the United States?
Well, Romney's come out much more strongly and firmly and said he will stop Iran's nuclear program. I mean, he said the main difference between Obama and me is if you elect Obama, Iran will have nuclear weapons. You elect me, Iran will not. Romney has also said on a number of occasions, as has all of his advisors, we will use the military option if that's the only thing left to stop Iran. Obama has not said that. And I think that's the reason you've seen all this talk in the last couple of weeks about Israel's preparing for an imminent attack. Iran's nuclear program is far further along than we thought. Iran is hosting the non-aligned summit. He's got 120 leaders who've been to Iran to pay court to the Iranians and to Ahmadinejad. And I think a lot of that is that the Israelis want a commitment, a public and firm and unshakable commitment from Obama before the election that if it comes to it, the United States will use force to stop Iran. And if if Israel doesn't get that kind of a public commitment, and if Israel decides that Obama is going to be reelected and that Obama is not going to keep his word, he is not going to have their back, he is going to allow a nuclear Iran to exist, he's going to try to contain a nuclear Iran, then the Israelis have a very different calculation, should they go it alone. And the problem with all of this is that while the Israelis can start a war with Iran, they can't finish it.
All right. Meanwhile, an American official, a top American official, has told the New York Times that Iran is again shipping military equipment to Syria through their airspace. What does that mean, number one, for Assad and his ability to hold on to power there, and also to sanctions or perhaps more sanctions against Iraq?
You mean Iran?
I mean Iran.
Here's the thing. A former ambassador of the region, and I've told you this before, described Syria to me like this. He said, look, it's like the bar scene in a Star Wars movie. Every bad guy in the entire region, everybody who wants to make jihad, everybody who wants to fight, they're all there, whether they're from Iran or Iraq, whether they're Sunni extremists, whether they're Shiite extremists.
Right.
And so I'm not in the least bit surprised that Iran is using Iraq as a conduit of arms to Syria. It's the same direction things went, but in reverse during the Iraq war. And Iran is all over that fight. Why? They're supporting Assad, the leadership. He's their longtime ally. They give him military equipment. They've even got Revolutionary Guard fighters helping him. But at the same time, they're supporting a militia, a pro-Iranian militia, so that after Assad is toppled, they're going to keep fighting.
All right, KT McFarland, Fox News national security analyst. Good to have you on as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the convention.
All right.
I just want to clarify what the American official said. It was Iran shipping military equipment to Syria using Iraqi airspace. That's key there, because Iraq and Iran, there's some kind of deal there, or some kind of negotiation. At least there's some conversation going on, if this is true, for the Iraqis to say, yeah, come on over, use our airspace, and give what you want to give to Bashar Assad. Wow. That's concerning to no matter who the president is. No kidding.